And this is about values. What we are built on. So if you had to give a few fundamental values on which the EU is based, what would you say?
Yani Avropa İttifaqının əsaslandığı fundamental dəyərlər haqqında siz nə deyə bilərsiniz? Yəni hansı fundamental dəyərlərə Avropa İttifaqı əsaslanır?
All of the basic human rights.
Yeah. Okay. Human rights, yes. Free market. Security, yeah, it's good, but it's not a value. It's an objective. It's very important, but it's not a value. Democracy? The integrated market, the common border. Yeah, that's also, it's more an instrument more than a value. What else? Human rights is there? Yes, yeah, transparency could be one, yes. I would say it's more good governance. Good governance includes transparency and many other things. What about, I see a lot of you in the room here.
Diverse.
Yes, but more precisely?
Tolerance.
Tolerance, yes. Equality. Equality between gender. Equality between man and woman. Very important value of the EU. And we still have to improve, I have to admit. But we are certainly one of the most advanced societies in terms of equality between men and women. Very good. So another one is really the fundamental freedoms. Freedom of media, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, etc. All these fundamental freedoms. Voilà. These were my 12 stars. Now let's look at the falling stars. But before going to the falling stars, I promised you to give you a few hints about the nature of the EU. What is the nature? What is the EU? What is the EU? Is it a state? Is it an international organization? It's a union? It's a system? It's confederalism? Yeah. But if you had a choice, if you had, two boxes, and people ask you, the EU is a state, or no, you have three boxes. A state, an international organization, or something else? Okay. Too easy, too easy. It's not a state. It's not an international organization. Why? Because the big difference between international organizations and the EU is that we have sovereign powers. Just like a state. And the sovereign powers that we have actually come from the states that have given us these powers. So it is something else. For those of you who maybe have heard this expression, it comes from Latin, sui generis. You know, it's something, the EU is something that never existed, that is totally new. It's a new concept.
Avropa İttifaqı hiç zaman onun beraber evveler olmuştu. Böyle bir konsept evveler olmuştu. Bu yeni bir tek bir ne diyelim ya sistem değil. Aralığı olmuştu.
So the EU, as the name says, is a union. So I know the term union sometimes brings back bad memories. What is the basic difference between the European Union and other unions that you have seen in history?
Yəni ki, tarixdə gördüyünüz başqa ittifaqlarla Avropa İttifaqı arasındakı fərq nədir?
The basic difference is that the EU is based on the willingness of member states to join the EU.
Birinci odur ki, Avropa İttifaqı üz dövlətlərin iradəsindən, siyasi iradəsindən, istəyindən asılı olaraq onu qəbul edir.
All the 27 states have decided freely, voluntarily to join the EU. They were not imposed.
Yəni 27 üz dövlət özləri istəyirlər ki, Avropa İttifaqına daxil olsunlar. Onları heç kəs məcbur etmir.
And if they want to leave, they can.
Və onlar çıxmaq istəsələr ittifaqdan çıxa bilərlər.
So I think this is a very important difference between the different types of unions, some of them which have, where countries did not have the choice to become a member.
Become a member?
So in some other unions, it was imposed upon them. The states did not have a choice.
Yəni ki, başqa ittifaqlardan fərqli budur. Yəni başqa ittifaqlarda ölkənin başqa bir, necə deyirlər, əlaci seçimi yox idi.
What is very important, I said the European Union was something new, that is always in the making. So that means that the EU has to permanently adapt. The EU has to adapt to new realities permanently.
Yəni ki, yenə dediyim kimi Avropa İttifaqının analogu olmuyor və Avropa İttifaqı yəni hər zaman daimi reallığa uyğunlaşmalıdır.
And have some of you are students, or maybe some of you are no longer students. Has somebody read this famous book, Rise and Fall of Great Empires?
Böyük imperiyaların sübutu və necə deyirlər?
It's a book that was written by Paul Kennedy, the brother of... And the theory of this book is that over history, but over the long history, and going back to hundreds and thousands of years, you always had this kind of scenario for the big powers. Sometimes they were very strong and then they fell.
Yəni o kitabda göstərilir ki, bütün tarix boyu böyük imperiyalar həm yəni imperiyaların qalxına, yüksəliş, həm inkişaf, həm də sübut dövrlər.
You can think of many examples in the world. We can think about USSR, Ottoman Empire, yeah, Byzance, the Byzance Empire, the British Empire. Yeah, but it's true. I mean, Britain in the 19th century was a world power. Today, sorry. You have also, in South America, the Incas, the Aztecs, the Chinese. The Chinese in the 13th, 14th century was a world power, and then it fell into nothing, and now it's coming back. So what we are trying to do in the EU is